Welcome to our exploration of the intricate issue of odious debt. Before we delve into the historical context, let's take a moment to examine a contemporary example, the current political landscape in Kenya. In recent years, Kenya has faced a series of political scandals that have significant implications for the country's financial stability and governance. One of the most prominent scandals involves the misuse of public funds by government officials. Billions of shillings have been lost in corruption schemes, with funds intended for public development projects being diverted into private accounts. These scandals have not only eroded public trust in government institutions, but have also exacerbated the country's debt burden. Kenya's increasing debt levels have raised concerns about the sustainability of its financial obligation. Much of this debt has been accumulated through loans taken out by successive governments, often under questionable circumstances. Critics argue that a significant portion of this debt could be considered odious, as it has been used to enrich a select few rather than benefit the Kenyan populace. The implications of these scandals are far-reaching. The mismanagement of funds has hindered economic growth, leading to higher poverty rates and unemployment. Moreover, the burden of repaying these debts falls on the shoulders of ordinary citizens who are already struggling to make ends meet. As we move forward, it's crucial to understand how these modern-day issues relate to the broader concept of odious debt. In the next segment, we'll take a historical journey to explore how different countries have dealt with similar challenges in the past. Stay tuned as we dive into the historical overview of odious debt and its impact on nations across the globe. Welcome to our deep dive into the complex world of odious debt. In this segment, we'll explore various countries that have suffered under the weight of odious debt, providing historical context and examining the outcomes of these financial burdens. Our journey begins in the early 20th century with Cuba. Following its independence from Spain in 1898, Cuba inherited a significant amount of debt accumulated by the Spanish colonial government. Much of this debt was considered odious as it was used to suppress Cuban independence movements rather than benefit the Cuban people. Despite this, the United States, which had significant influence over Cuba at the time, insisted that Cuba repay the debts. Moving forward to the 1980s, we find ourselves in the heart of Latin America. During this period, many countries, including Argentina and Brazil, experienced economic turmoil exacerbated by loans taken out by military dictatorships. These loans were often used to fund oppressive regimes and did little to improve the lives of ordinary citizens. The resulting debt crises led to widespread poverty and economic instability, with repercussions that are still felt today. Next, we travel to sub-Saharan Africa. In the 1990s, post-apartheid South Africa grappled with the legacy of debts incurred by the apartheid regime. These debts were used to finance the oppressive and discriminatory policies of the apartheid government. The new democratic government faced the daunting challenge of repaying these debts while trying to rebuild the nation and address the severe inequalities left by apartheid. Lastly, we look at Iraq in the early 2000s. After the fall of Saddam Hussein's regime, Iraq was left with enormous debts that had been used to finance wars and the regime's oppressive activities. The international community debated whether these debts should be considered odious and therefore cancelled. Ultimately, a significant portion of Iraq's debt was forgiven, allowing the country to focus on reconstruction and recovery. These examples highlight the far-reaching impacts of odious debt on nations and their citizens. In the next segment, we'll delve deeper into the concept of odious debt and how it is defined and recognized in international law. Scene 2, what is odious debt? Explained. Am I the only one that didn't know some countries can refuse to pay their debts? Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of odious debt. This legal doctrine suggests that if a regime racks up debt for personal gain or oppression, the nation shouldn't have to pay it back. Key traits: illegitimacy, no benefit to the people, and creditors who knew better. Let's look at some real-world examples. Between 2013 and 2016, Mozambique secretly took on over $2 billion in loans, leading to a severe economic crisis. The loans were used for dubious projects, and much of the money was mismanaged or siphoned off through corruption. In 2019, Mozambique initiated legal proceedings against Credit Suisse and other parties, accusing them of fraud and corruption. But it's not all victories. South Africa's post-apartheid debt sparked debates but no cancellations. The legal challenges are steep and international pressure is relentless. So next time you hear about national debt, remember sometimes it's more than just numbers. It's a matter of justice. The concept of odious debt dates back to the early 20th century. It was first articulated by Alexander Sack, a Russian legal theorist, in 1927. Sack argued that debts incurred by a regime for purposes that do not serve the interests of the state should not be binding on the nation. This principle has been invoked in various international disputes over the years. However, it remains a contentious and often politically charged issue. The application of odious debt is not straightforward and often depends on the specific circumstances of each case. Legal scholars and international lawyers continue to debate its validity and applicability. Despite the controversies, the concept of odious debt has played a significant role in shaping international financial law. Let's delve deeper into some notable cases where odious debt has been a central issue. In 2008, Ecuador declared a portion of its national debt illegitimate and refused to pay it. The government argued that the debt was contracted by previous corrupt regimes and did not benefit the Ecuadorian people. This bold move was met with both praise and criticism from the international community. Some saw it as a necessary step to free the country from unjust financial burdens, while others viewed it as a dangerous precedent. The case of Ecuador highlights the complexities and challenges of addressing odious debt. Another significant example is Iraq. After the fall of Saddam Hussein's regime in 2003, there were calls to cancel Iraq's debt. The argument was that the debt was incurred by a dictatorial regime and did not benefit the Iraqi people. In 2004, a large portion of Iraq's debt was forgiven by international creditors. This decision was seen as a recognition of the principles of odious debt. However, not all cases of odious debt result in debt cancellation. The legal and political hurdles can be immense. Countries often face significant opposition from creditors and international financial institutions. The case of Greece during the Eurozone crisis is a prime example. Despite arguments that some of Greece's debt was odious, the country was forced to implement severe austerity measures. The international community was divided on the issue, with some supporting debt relief and others insisting on repayment. The Greek crisis underscores the difficulties in achieving debt cancellation, even when the debt is deemed odious. So, what does the future hold for the concept of odious debt? As global financial systems evolve, the debate over odious debt is likely to continue. New legal frameworks and international agreements may emerge to address the issue. However, the fundamental questions remain: who should bear the burden of illegitimate debt, and how can justice be served? These are complex issues with no easy answers. But one thing is clear: the concept of odious debt will continue to shape the discourse on international finance and justice. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of odious debt. Remember, understanding these concepts is crucial for making informed decisions about our global financial future. Stay informed, stay engaged, and always question the status quo. Until next time, keep exploring the fascinating world of finance and justice.